Hey everybody, Jane here. So this is a video that I am so sad to be making, but life happens. So an author that I really love has recently passed away with a series that is not complete, and I don't know what the plans for the rest of the series are. So I decided I was going to do a series review of the Gaslight Mystery series with the knowledge that there may be another book that comes out in the series that maybe was with the publisher prior to the author passing, and or that possibly somebody else will take over the series and finish it. I don't know if Victoria had drafts or anything else at the time of her passing, but let's talk about the Gaslight Mystery series, which is one of my favorite mystery series.
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
Okay, so the main players in the Gaslight Mystery series are Sarah and Frank. So Sarah, when we first meet her, she is a midwife. Her husband, who has passed away, was a doctor, and she is living and working in, I want to say, late 1800s, early 1900s New York City. And her parents are very wealthy, and they have had a falling out, her and her parents, because she married beneath her station, and also her sister did and was disowned, and her sister sadly passed away because of this situation. So when we first meet them, Sarah is having a terrible rift with her parents. She's struggling from, being a recent widow, and she is a midwife. Her when in the first book, when we meet her, there is a situation. I believe there is a minor or a younger person who is pregnant, and there are circumstances surrounding that pregnancy that are cause for concern, and the police are involved. One of the police that is involved in the situation is Frank Malloy. I think it's Malloy, it might be Mallory, but it's a Frank M. And Frank M has his own unique history. He is also a widower. His wife died giving birth to his son. Him and his son live with his mother, and his son, we learn in the first book, I think, it might be the second or third, but really early in the series, that his son is deaf. So he teams up with Sarah to explore what is happening in this first mystery, and then from then on, throughout the rest of the series, they are a team. Their relationship grows and changes throughout. We have add-ons of additional characters, including Sarah adopts a daughter fairly early in the series, and it is just a lovely series. The author often made the mysteries very much about the time period, but in the end, it's really a character series, a character-based series. So a couple things I will say. This is a series that I feel like you really need to read the books in order because they are so significant with characters. This is not a book that you could, or a book series where you could like go from book to book, because you miss so much of the character arcs that are happening along the way. These characters have massive changes throughout the books, especially the early books. Later, it's not quite as much, but throughout the early books particularly, I feel like you really can't skip a book. As a matter of fact, the way I got into this series was I had read one of the later books and I picked it up, and the writing was so good and I was so invested, but I was so freaking confused by the character work that I was like, I just need to start this series at book one. And I read every book that is out to date because I love the series. Now, some of the mysteries have been better than others, but I was always rooting for the characters. And I have been a huge fan of this series from the get-go. I absolutely love Sarah and Frank and where their stories go. I like a lot of the side characters. Um, I will say in some of the later books, there are two new detectives that start helping Sarah and Frank, and I don't like them as much. And if you've seen some of my reviews for some of the later books, I would get frustrated because I'm like, these two people are basically running the mystery. I felt like the author was kind of trying to replace Frank and Sarah because they didn't have a lot of character arc left. Um, and I felt like we really needed, to keep going with their character arc and to see what happens to them. And I felt like the author was trying to kind of redirect us to be invested in these other two minor characters who I just didn't care about nearly as much. I didn't find them as interesting or well developed as Sarah and Frank. There was also a plot point I really wanted to see Sarah and Frank go through, and to my knowledge, that is now never going to happen because obviously these books are not going to continue unless the publisher has plans that they have not released. I did try to Google and I haven't heard of anything. So I'm kind of devastated that we didn't get to see Sarah and Frank go through the last things that I wanted them to go through in their character arc. But it is still a really, really fun mystery series, especially if you like the historical time period, especially if you are really a character-oriented reader. I think this is an exceptional series, and it is probably my favorite mystery series of all time so far that I've read. And I would recommend it with the knowledge that it may feel a little incomplete at the end because I don't know that there was no in the last book there was no like big hanging threads, but at the same time like I wanted more of Frank and Sarah's story. And sadly, I don't think we're going to get that. So, yeah, I just wanted to do a shout out to this series and to this author and to say that this is probably my favorite mystery series. It is certainly my favorite historical fiction mystery series, and that I love the characters and that I really encourage people who think that that's something they would enjoy to give the series a try, with the caveat that, I don't know what's going to happen to the series from here. And I'm really bummed about that fact. I wish that there had been more notices from the publisher of what had happened. I only found out, I couldn't even Google, I don't think that the author had passed, but they had announced it on Facebook because I follow her page, and they had posted that she had passed away from related to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I guess she had been sick, but maybe she hadn't like stopped as far as I know, and maybe she had a plan in place of finishing things up, or I don't know, somebody who's sick, if they decided to just continue and hope that things got better or what. And I do have to give props, not related, but slightly related, to Laura Levine, who is the author of one of my other favorite mystery series, who just closed out their series because she is 80 years old now, and she didn't say exactly that she's concerned about dying before she writes more books. She says, it's time to retire. But, I'm glad that she finished out her series, even if I didn't necessarily love the ending. I'm glad we got that closure, because now not getting that closure with Frank and Sarah is really a little bit heart-wrenching for me. So, yes. If you've made it this far in the video, please leave a book emoji in the comments. If you've read the series, do you love them as much as I do? Are you sad that Sarah and Frank never got to explore like birth? Like, that's my big thing. I wanted Sarah and Frank to have a baby because I wanted to deal with all of his trauma from his wife's pregnancy and her being a midwife, and like I wanted them to have a baby so bad. And did you want them to have a baby too, or Or did you want the plot to go in a different way? Are you invested in what happens in Mauve and Giovanni, I think his name is, Gino? I mean, tell me what you're going to miss most about the series and what you're most heartbroken about not getting the answers to. I didn't really care about Gino and Mauve, I think is her name. I wanted to care, but I just didn't find them as interesting as Sarah and Frank. My big thing is I wanted Sarah and Frank to have a baby. So yes, please, if you have anything, commiserate with me about what you are going to miss about this series the most. Also, if you've heard any updates from the publisher about if there's another book that like was submitted before her passing, or if they have plans to let somebody else continue the series, please leave anything that you have information wise in the comments below, because I am just devastated by this terrible loss and I just wanted to talk about it. All right, guys, this has been Jane. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.